Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Committed Critics, a pop culture podcast. We're not only committed to our opinions, but also each other. Aww. I'm Kevin Lau.
And I'm Zachary Wright. And Kevin, we still don't have Ryan.
Oh no. It's almost as if we recorded this in the same day that he's not available.
Psst, hey, you're breaking the curtain. You're breaking the magic.
I got put it back. Oh, hey, there's a guest here. What's up? Hey, who are you, special guest?
Hey, guys, I found this curtain back here. Am I supposed to do something with it?
I'll take that and then just gonna stitch it back together.
Put it back up. Put it back up. It's fine.
Wait, no.
All right, it's fine.
Wait, Zach. Why'd you throw it out the window?
Well,
I love our narrative podcast.
My name is Tyler Bourland. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm from the Southern Illinois region, and yes, that's further south than Champaign-Urbana.
Whoa.
Ew, what did you just say? Hang on.
It's not even close. Not even close. How do you pronounce it?
Is it not?
Urbana.
No.
Urbana.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm getting some education here. Yeah, I'm learning today. No, it's
Illinois geography.
Yeah. What do you call that drink that's really fizzy? It's like
soda.
Water. Soda? Okay. I was making sure it was soda and not pop.
Oh, that we don't call it pop?
Yeah.
We border on that pop soda line hard.
Yeah, there's definitely a culture clash with that here. But generally it's soda. It's soda is usually the term. I've never seen it called pop on a store officially.
Gotcha. I'm working towards a master's degree to teach English. I co-host a weekly podcast called Why Is with Ty and Dan. We're on Spotify, Pandora. We're all across the internet. You'll find us somewhere. Or maybe we'll
download to my brain.
Or maybe we'll find a variant of you.
Yeah, you never know.
Why Is with Dan and Ty.
or Tyler and Danny. Or Ty and Danny. Yeah.
It's all about those copycats, man. You're too big, too famous.
Or Taylor and Daniela.
Oh.
It took me way too long to think of two female names for you two.
That's a very delayed joke. I'm like, okay. Yay, Zach, you did it. Here's a cookie.
Kevin, what are we talking about today? Continue.
Yeah, speaking of variants, we're talking about Loki, the show on MCU, not the character. Calm down. We're not going through his detailed history. Talking about his MCU show that's on Disney Plus. 6 episodes. It's really good. Go ahead and watch it. Anyways, Zach, what's your spoiler-free thoughts on Loki?
This is the best MCU show so far. 4 out of 5. I'm excited for the future of MCU shows after this, and I can't say anything else because of spoilers. But yeah, go give it a watch.
Yeah, no, it's a really great time-centric show that, as of right now, beats Doctor Who at its own game at the moment.
And that's insane. That is insane.
It is, and Doctor Who is really good. Doctor Who is my favorite show. I still keep up with it. I love it. But both the creators of the show of Loki and Tom Hiddleston himself really understand the character of Loki and the world the characters inhabit. This show is mostly set in a quote unquote purgatory world outside of time itself. And it's a very well realized sandbox for the creators that give us a strong sense of world building on top of some of the best character work we see in the MCU, despite some of the small hiccups it has. What about you, Tyler?
I had a lot of fun with this show, even more than with WandaVision. So the field is now wide open for Marvel. It excites me a ton, especially now that we've had comic storylines teased that are arguably bigger than Thanos' Infinity War and the Infinity Gauntlet.
Which they get bigger?
For someone, yeah, just bigger and bigger. For
someone Thanos, but the size of a building.
Yeah.
Hail the size of Thanos fans.
It's
Thanos, but his hands are like little Thanuses.
Jesus.
His Infinity Gauntlets have Infinity Gauntlets.
It goes on forever. It's like the hands
Yeah.
and like that one sequence in Doctor Strange was just Infinity Gauntlets.
Jesus.
Yes. It's not the snap, it's the snaps.
Whoa.
I love it.
But yeah, I agree with you guys. 4 out of 5.
Look at that
Awesome.
uniformity across the board. Also, I want to clear something up, Kevin. Just your use of the word purgatory. This is about the Loki that winced out of 2012, not the dead Loki. He's not dead in purgatory. It's the Loki from 2012 that stole a Tesseract. So
Right.
just clear that up.
Correct.
Just clearing that up.
Yes. It's like time purgatory or something thing.
Pocket dimension.
It's-
Use Doctor Who. Pocket
Exactly.
dimension.
I don't know how much our fans are familiar with that because we never talked about it on the show.
It's
So,
fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Everyone knows what Doctor Who is. They've seen every episode.
Spoiler warning.
For Loki, not Doctor Who.
Yep.
So yeah, as we dive into spoilers, just keep in mind that if you haven't seen the show, you should probably do that, or else it's going to be all the twists are going to be spoiled for you. Either you could be like, oh, this isn't a surprise for me because the committed critics ruined it for me. They're like, hey man, Sane, if you
Sam,
don't stop now, it's on you.
can I go first with the thing I liked?
Go ahead.
The multiverse is here, baby.
Yeah, Batman's going to be in the MCU.
Guys, Doctor Strange's back is going to hurt from carrying every hero in this next couple movies.
He's just gonna be like, God. He's like every time like a hero shows up in Doctor Strange's doorstep, he's gonna be like, oh man, like
He's going to be
Again,
like, I
like-
retire. He's going to have a great vacation after Multiverse of Madness. I'll tell you that right now.
his hair just gets grayer and grayer with each installment.
Okay, but besides that, I really liked how tight and concise the story and the characters were.
Mhm.
I'm super excited. I was super excited to watch Weekly, which is something that I didn't really have with the other two shows, which are the limited series. So I think the episodic nature of this show worked really well in this particular show's instance and worked in its favor. It really
For sure.
instigates those water cooler conversations the best out of the three MCU shows so far. Like when I was texting you,
Mhm.
Kevin, like every Wednesday, like, hey, have you watched it yet? And we'd go back and forth. I had the
I'd be
most,
like, no, I'm watching it on Thursday.
you're like watching on Thursday, like, okay, fine. Like, yeah, I think we had more engaging conversations about Loki. I think also because we both liked Loki, where we were different. We were
Mhm.
different stages of WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier. But besides that, I still think it was more engaging because we had more to work with and talk about with Loki. Whereas WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier were more of a limited series and kind of it's one thing that would have worked better as a binge
Right.
thing.
And then and I'll get into like more of the mechanics of why that feels like it is what it is.
Right. Yeah.
But before I do that, Tyler, what's one thing you liked about Loki?
So not only is the multiverse here, but Jonathan Majors came with it.
Oh, so good.
The Infinity Saga slowly introduced Thanos as the looming threat in the shadows throughout the first 3 phases. But Marvel is bringing Kang to the forefront right out of the gate with Phase 4. I'm excited to see how the Conqueror will influence events leading to the next in-game level film. Having the big bad announced beforehand will, parentheses, hopefully, make for not only a different experience from phases 1 through 3, but also one of even more epic proportions.
I want to circle
Fingers
back. I want to circle back to your
crossed.
what you said, Tyler. But Kevin, go ahead. Give us what you liked. What you're going to say. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I was just saying fingers crossed for Tyler's point about
Right, yeah.
it being better, even better and grander in scale than phases 1 through 3. Because there's a lot of potential here,
Right. Yeah.
but Marvel has shown us with Black Widow that just because there's potential doesn't mean they're going to follow through with it.
Crickets.
Yeah.
Oh,
I tried.
I said yeah, but I said it away from the mic and it didn't pick up.
No. Zach's just gonna let like actual cricket sound
I'm gonna put in
effects
a
play.
cricket noise right there.
Yeah, and then frame me as the bad guy. Anyway, Zach, you were gonna say something.
So here's a quick theory, real fast, since we're a little bit ahead.
Mhm.
Do you guys think Kang is actually the next big bad for Marvel? Like, is he the next Thanos?
I don't know.
I don't
There's-
think so. I think we're gonna get these big bads a little more intermittent than we did Thanos.
What I'm hoping for is it's like an MCU version of, say, like a Sinister Six, so to speak. Like
Okay.
it's like there's like multiple big bad guys working together
Yeah.
instead of one big bad guy. Bad guy. Part of me is I have a stroke. But I think it would be interesting to have like a villain team go up against, because I don't think we've had that yet in the MCU.
I think in contrast to that idea, Kevin, I think we're gonna have different. You know how in Falcon Winter Soldier, Sam goes the big three: aliens, robots, or whatever it was, wizards, androids, aliens, or wizards.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna have different
one
arcs.
of all three,
or no, not different, like different arcs. So like we have Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Loki, all dealing with multiversal events, right? And Kang will be the villain of that. Whereas in like Falcon Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, Black Widow, we have kind of like the combat, more like vigilante side of Marvel, where it's like Dark Avengers, stuff like that. That'll be that story. And I think there's a third one out there that we have not yet quite seen yet. That'll slowly work its way in there. And be like the third arc. So I'm not basing it off of based off Anthony Mackie's line. That's not what I'm saying. No, I think that each part of the Marvel universe will have its own villain, and those three will coincide into one bigger ultimate event toward the end of phase 4 or 5 or whatever. That makes sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So I don't think we'll get another Thanos level event. I don't think it'll be leading up to one big thing like Infinity War Endgame. I think we'll have bigger stories, bigger impactful things along the way to maybe more grandiose story that is kind of like Thanos, but not as big and as impactful. And
right, it's just more going for like a long form narrative, similar to like TV show, like having arcs, or anime. MCU just becomes the American version of live action anime. I mean,
wouldn't that be something?
Hey man, they have the potential. So we'll see if they can do it. I would love to them to like have that more of a long form narrative, more cohesive than it was with the Infinity Saga, where it's just like it is really feels all interconnected, while also like having these characters be their own people, and not be. But it's like a double-edged sword, where you got like you want everything to feel connected and have impact to everything else. But I also want these characters to have their own individual stories, and not be like bogged down with tie-ins and all that stuff.
Because
poor Peter Parker,
because
and his character arc
after Spider-Man, like hopefully we'll see like Norman Osborn, like be Norman Osborn from the comics, like be that villain, or like
we only got Spider-Man for one more movie,
right?
That's
Exactly,
he's gone,
right?
So it's. Spider-Man's character arc is going to be like Swiss cheese.
Sorry, bad example. Like Doctor Doom from Fantastic Four. Like I'm sure he'll be a bad guy in his own right, and then that'll lead to Galactus at some point because Fantastic Four always leads to Galactus. So something along those lines. I don't know. I'm just spitballing right now. That's really all.
Yeah, no, I got you. Like, yeah, no, I think that's really cool. Like, we just like and bring back older villains too.
Right.
Like, we can have a redo of Ultron. We could
Yellow Jacket.
Yes, please.
redo of Yellow Jacket. That would be great. Like, these they can come back, and then we haven't had a supervillain team yet in the MCU.
Right.
Man, like the Avengers have teamed up so many times. Maybe the bad guys will be like, you know what? Maybe we should team up at some point. We might get a Sinister Six. We're still not confirmed yet. It's going to be really weird to fit that in with everything else that's rumored with Spider-Man 3.
God, I hope we don't get it from Sony. I hope we get, and I hope Spider-Man comes back to the MCU at some point. After No Way Home.
Like, it's hot take. Spider-Man in the MCU needs a redo. We just make it Miles Morales.
That's
kill
fair.
off Peter Parker. I'm sorry. Start from scratch. Yeah. Like with a better plan. But that's for another time. And I say that loving Tom Holland as Spider-Man and loving Spider-Man Homecoming. But beyond that, weird. But back to Loki. So one thing I liked about Loki is the writing of the show. Michael Waldron, who is the showrunner and the head writer of the show, is a very close collaborator with Dan Harmon, who you may know from Community and Rick and Morty and various other films he's worked on. He even he came out that saying that he co-wrote a script with Dan Harmon for a Lego Batman movie sequel that's just shelved at the moment and there's no plan to be made. I really hope that script leaks because I want to read that one. Dan Harmon, as some of you may know, has his own. Well, he didn't invent story structure, but he really like simplified it.
Right.
And you can see it very prevalently on the shows he writes, where it's like every story is split into 8 sections, and each section has its own thing, and it's all fueled by character and character motivation and making sure how to change your character for the best. And Loki, like Michael Waldron with writing Loki, like you can see Dan Harmon's influence perfectly. Like if I could apply the Dan Harmon story circle to every episode and the whole story of Loki so far, perfectly. And we'll talk about it a little bit more. So like it's been confirmed for season 2. There's Zach had conflicting sources saying that like how much of Loki was actually shot. I'm thinking this season finale of Loki was the midpoint of the bigger story, and that we're getting 2 seasons of Loki, which would make sense.
Yeah, no,
because,
I agree. Like, look how the season started with Loki, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cocky Loki as always. By the end, he is petrified and runs back to Mobius and is like, "We gotta do something." And he's like, "Who are you again?" And he just like, Tom Hiddleston.
He's completely in the world of the unfamiliar,
right,
which happens at in the midpoint.
Right. He's by himself. He's alone. He's scared, and he doesn't know what to do. And like Tom Hiddleston does a great job acting, gets that across, and it's definitely midpoint scenario in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And so there's and we were talking about like how there's instigates more of a water cooler conversations for each episode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because each episode has a very definitive beginning, middle, end. It's not like, oh, we're gonna like have something interesting for the first couple of minutes, and it's kind of like nothing happens, and then like until like the last 5 minutes of the episode. A lot of binge shows do this, and I hate it a lot. There's natural progression with each episode, even in like episode 3, which like has like the weirdest pacing of it. Strangely enough, is like it just some of it just feels a little off. There's still stuff happening in it character wise,
right?
And we still get more. We can still get room for conversation with that when the episode is over. So this is like I absolutely love the writing of Loki. It is written like an actual TV show, or what actual TV shows strive to be. WandaVision was fine the way it was. It is a breakdown and deconstruction of what television means. Falcon and Winter Soldier was a binge show that just didn't work. Releasing weekly,
right?
It didn't work at all. Some might say. But Loki, but the writing of Loki, like just the writing alone, Loki is absolutely fantastic. And on that note, gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about one thing we didn't like and our final thoughts on Loki. See you in a bit. Starting a podcast? Try a Podbean Unlimited hosting plan. It's what we use here at Committed Critics, giving us the opportunity to have our show on Pandora, iHeartRadio, and even Spotify. You can get your first month of unlimited hosting for free on us by going to podbean.com/committedcrits, just like our Twitter, or by clicking the link in the description. Podbean, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting.
Don't you wish there was a pop culture review site that appealed to cinephiles, both professional and casual? Well, look no further than crpwrites.com. New content such as movie and TV reviews, film essays, and more are released every week by writers who crave for movies like every moviegoer craves for popcorn. CRP Writes is dedicated to making sure no one is wasting time or money where they shouldn't be. After all, you have to be able to buy your popcorn and eat it too. crpwrites.com. Casual reviews with purpose since 2018.
And welcome back to Committed Critics as we continue our talk on Loki. All 6 episodes on Disney Plus. Not sponsored, unfortunately, but hey.
God, I wish.
If Feige buys the show, even though I'll stop dissing him, I promise.
You will be owned by Feige, Kevin.
Hey man, as long as it pays the bills, I'll be happy.
Understandable.
So what is one thing you did not like about Loki? Zach, do you want to kick us off on this one?
Yeah, sure. Well, I love how concise it was. I wish the character beats hit a bit harder, had a little more bite to them, and were a little more fleshed out. all the quote
Mhm.
like there were not filler episodes, but like the ones that felt like filler were outweighed by the overarching plot, so that was good. Like you brought up episode 3, Kevin, right?
Mhm.
That's where Sylvie and Loki really are starting to bond on Mentis or whatever, quote unquote bond. But it's not like their chemistry is fine, like between Tom Hiddleston and Sophia DiMartino, correct? Right?
Yep.
Like they're doing fine as actors and actresses and everything. But there's something was missing. Like it didn't feel like a character moment for both of them as much as it should have been. I just feel like that needed a bit more bite to it, I guess, in some way. Like how engaged I was with the plot overall. I wish that was a little more engaging to me. They had a little more to work with based off those two characters, where it's just like, I don't like you either, but I have to trust you, but I don't trust you. Not in that typical fashion, but it just kind of
Right.
It was missing something.
Yeah, and those are one of those instances where it is you feel like something is missing, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Because outside of those moments, like when Loki gets thrown out of the train while he has the tempad, you feel like, oh, Sylvie's got to go after him, and
Right.
like that part works. But then it's like some of it is like, something's missing. Like there's and that's a common problem. Even like the pros have it, as we can see, where it's just like something's missing. There's something like either something's not motivated. There's maybe we're in the wrong setting.
I think
maybe we're not moving around
for
enough.
me it was they didn't relate to one each other enough, and they're the same person, which is weird,
Right.
Like
Mhm.
I know why they stayed away from like Thor, because that would be a little more, it would make their relationship they have later a bit more awkward because they both share a brother, right?
Mhm.
But there's different versions of the brothers, so they could have built on that. Like either like Loki loves Thor as a brother, right? Like we were shown that later on in the MCU. I know it's different because we're a different version of Loki, but ultimately he still loved Thor. I wish they could have had some kind of thing to relate to with one another instead of just we're the same person for each other, like same
Right.
person,
Like a little bit more character building, more world
Right.
to flesh out the world a bit more.
right?
For sure. What about you, Tyler?
I didn't mind the Sylvie and Loki relationship. In fact, Loki actually finding a love interest is good character building for that specific character.
Mhm.
It's refreshing for his specific character. Loki opening himself up to someone else, it shows us character growth because he's finally showing vulnerability and he's being honest with himself, which is something that prior to the show, he identified as more of a weakness.
Right.
Right. Like he was
so-
kind of a narcissistic sociopath, more or less.
Yeah. And so it works specifically for his character. It's more overall with Marvel, with the MCU, is not every Marvel property needs a love interest. And that's something that Captain Marvel Captain Marvel to me is maybe just around mid-tier Marvel. But with Captain Marvel, we didn't get this love interest, this love story. We were able to focus on the character,
Right.
and I really liked that about the movie. And so when Sylvie and Loki started looking like their relationship was going to go more and more towards that, I was hoping that it wasn't necessarily going to go to that, but I think Marvel rested on its laurels there for a little bit. Hopefully, like when Shang-Chi comes around, I'm really hoping that Shang-Chi and Awkwafina's character are not going to be. I hope they're friends, and like. How cool would it be to have we've got a main character who has it's a male main character having a platonic relationship with a male female character. And we got that a little bit with Black Widow and Captain America. But, we always had things alluding to,
Right.
to, who's Black Widow going to date? But,
Right.
but yeah, I was like, this feels a lot more like a rant than a more concise point. But yeah, I don't have much. I guess that speaks it's a praise to Loki, is that I personally don't have much that I sat there and was like, I can't watch this episode or this because I, nitpicked it. I mean, this is nitpicking.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you, Tyler.
So yeah,
I think the
worse.
writers
It could be
did.
cinema sins.
Oh, geez. I think Loki did it just right, where it's like, it wasn't like Loki being like, I love you, Sylvie. It was more of like, I just want you to be okay. Like, that's like what he says in that last episode, where it's like, he finally found someone he could care for, like, wants to make sure is okay. He's not just in it for himself. And I think it's also reflective of who he is as a person, falling in love with a version of himself. That's kind of like ironic and funny, like Mobius points out in like the third or fourth episode.
Exactly. And like, once again, the writing is like, when there's these points in the story where Zach, like you would say, like, usually in this point of the story, someone says, I love you. And then, but like, instead Loki says, I just want you to be okay. Like, that's a very clever twist on the plot point. That is, there's, and then like the idea of like him falling in love with someone, else, it's like, it's just a different version of himself. Like, that's a clever twist on the archetype. Right. Like, that is, it's things we've seen before, but twisted in a new way to fit this character arc, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
But yeah, and one thing I didn't like was just some of the awkward pacing, like I said, especially in episode 3. We've already went over it. It's a little weird, but it's still a good episode. I seem to like it more than the people on my timeline did. So,
I mean, it's just missing something. That's what we established. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but this show was not very spoiled for me. Like, people were very quiet about it on my timeline. I didn't do anything to mute it or anything. Whereas I had to mute WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I was still getting spoilers. This one was like, I saw like the occasional tweet be like, "Oh, this was really cool," but like, it's spoiler free. And then I get like 10 angry fanboys on my timeline somehow. It's like, "Man, Loki sucks. I hate this show." I'm like, "Oh, what's going on? Why is this so different?"
I didn't get a lot of spoilers. The only spoiler I got was Jonathan Majors on, like, I was 2 hours away from watching it, and I saw tweets like, Jonathan Majors is such a good actor, yada yada yada. That was the only thing I saw. So it's just vague enough to not be a spoiler, but just enough in the timing to be a coincidence where I'm like, damn, he's gonna show up in episode 6 and Kang is gonna be here. It wasn't Kang, it was a variant of Kang or whatever. That was really the only spoiler. And like, I don't know, as far as like the hate for Loki, I haven't really seen a lot of hate for it. It's more of just people don't love it as much as us, surprisingly.
Maybe because Marvel made a good thing, and people don't like it because it's different and good.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah,
that's my theory. I want to. Yeah, that's my theory. There we go.
That's fair.
I'm sticking to it. What about you, Tyler? What was your feed like every time Loki came out?
My feed was pretty quiet given that I only have YouTube, Discord, and Twitter. So it was pretty quiet. I knew to stay off Twitter until I saw the episode. And YouTube's spoiled in-game for me. So I learned the hard way.
Oh my God.
That you don't look at
Dude,
thumbnails.
everyone's spoiled Endgame. Like,
yeah,
everyone.
Okay. In everyone else's defense, Kevin, you waited like 3 weeks to watch Endgame.
But it came out, the spoilers came out the night of.
You waited 3 weeks to watch Endgame.
The spoilers came out the night of.
So real quick,
its
quick
release.
about Endgame spoilers. So we went to go see it, right? On opening night. This is a real fast story. We can wrap up, all right? So I went to go look up, like, see who was in it or some kind of quote from the trailer in IMDb page. And it was like 2 hours before opening night. We were eating Freddy's. And it was the Freddy's in Carbondale, actually. And I was on my phone looking at like the quote that like Captain America says about like whatever it takes or whatever, and the quotes tab on IMDb, and someone had uploaded the I am inevitable and the I am Iron Man, and then the snap quote
No.
in there, and I'm like, shit. And I'm like, I'm not saying a thing to anyone else. I put my phone away, and they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, I just had Endgame spoiled for me.
It's like nothing.
I'm
It's
like,
fine.
I'm not saying a word to you guys. You'll get there, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was scrolling on, and it was actually like the day before I saw Endgame. I was scrolling on YouTube on my phone, and knowing that I didn't need to be on any type of social media.
Right, yeah.
And I see this thumbnail, which it said Iron Man makes the big decision, which they were like quoting makes the hard decision, or it was a quote of Captain America. You know, they were referencing Captain America saying, "You'll never be the guy to make
sacrificial play or whatever." Yeah,
yeah. And so that's what they named it, and I would have been fine. I mean, I pretty much would have been like, okay, yeah, that spoiled it there, but I wouldn't have had the visual confirmation, except they bootlegged the scene of Tony Stark snapping, and I clicked on it and I watched it, and I was like, Tyler, you ruined it for yourself.
Tyler,
You did it to yourself.
No self-control.
Yeah.
I also had Infinity War spoiled for me because I was the Friday of that Infinity War came out. I was working on a shoot at a middle school for a fundraiser, and then and these two kids walked past me in the hall. They're talking to each other like, "Man, I can't believe Spider-Man died." I was like, "I'm gonna watch it tonight."
In other news, Kevin was also wanted in Champaign, Illinois, for the murder of two middle schoolers.
No, they're still alive. I let them walk away.
I let them
didn't
leave.
say anything.
All right, we should wrap up, guys.
I was just sad. But final thoughts on Loki.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I think this is the second best comic book show this year, right behind Invincible. I completely understand it. People are like, I like this more than Invincible. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, to each their own. Invincible is kind of an acquired taste, I think. But a lot of people seem to like that. A lot of people seem to like Loki. But I think also with how time centric it is, I think it's still another acquired taste. So we got like a nice variety this year in terms of comic book movies.
Right.
Comic book shows.
Yeah,
it's like they're like different flavors. And I really like that.
We still have so much superhero content coming out in the latter half of 2021 too.
Marvel just owns us. Just admit it, Zach.
We have a lot coming. I don't think you guys understand. We have a lot coming.
We have a lot. We got 2 more Marvel movies. We got
3 more, Kevin.
How many?
3 more Marvel movies.
Oh, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
3 more Marvel movies. We're getting 4 Marvel movies in the same year.
And
Jesus
I think
Christ.
probably 2 more series.
At least 2 more. Well, we got What If, Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, and What If a Shadow Drop of Loki season 2?
If you count Venom 2,
oh god,
then that's another yummy.
When's Mobius come out?
Suicide
Let's ask the
Squad
real
coming
questions
out.
here.
I'm looking forward to that.
When's Mobius come out? That's the real question here, guys.
It's February, maybe.
Yeah. If
they
Sony
pushed
doesn't
it to
move
a February
around.
release, I'm like, I don't know how that's gonna be.
Tyler, what are your final thoughts on Loki?
All right. So if you take anything away from my time on here, it's do not spend 2.5 hours watching The Tomorrow War on Amazon Prime.
Whoa, that came out of nowhere. Just like Black Widow wondering who her real mother is.
Kevin, you're killing me. Let him finish.
I give it a 1 out of 5. Use that time to watch the first 3 episodes of the Loki series. If you've already seen the Loki series, use it for a rewatch. Loki season 1 is definitely the one Marvel Disney Plus property that you should watch if you're only going to watch one. So
yeah, and I agree with you. Solid show. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. I think you kind of have to watch at this point because it's literally the class multiverse 101 for the MCU and the rules they're setting up for the multiverse event with like Doctor Strange, WandaVision, Loki, Spider-Man, rumored stuff like that.
We're taking a long time to explain what a multiverse is when Spider-Verse did it in one movie.
Exactly. And what the CW's done for the last how many seasons of TV shows. Anyway.
Too many.
So we're also missing some scenes from the trailers that might pop up in a season 2 somewhere. According to an article I'm pulling from Screen Rant, there's a variety interview with Clark Gregg where he was talking to Tom Hiddleston and said that they were shooting, there might be 10 or 12 episodes of Loki. And then there's an interview with Jimmy Kimmel where Tom Hiddleston said he was in costume as Loki on his birthday, but that was after Loki had already wrapped, apparently. So we could get a season 2 shadow drop somewhere, and that's what Kevin is referring to the entire episode.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So and then and it wouldn't be smart to have a streaming show be only 2 seasons long, because we've seen a lot recently where, especially with Netflix shows,
right.
they get canceled after 2 seasons. Like when it comes to streaming, for some reason, people don't carry on past season 2. Like the numbers drop severely. So it is the smartest decision to keep it a 2-season show.
For sure, yeah.
But I think with Disney Plus and Marvel being what it is, I think no matter what they do, they're just going to get those views anyway. It's kind of like the audience is kind of built in. So as long as it's good to a certain degree, or good enough, I should say, then, and it comes out and they have properties that come out frequently enough, then they might be fine. But I still think 2 seasons is the smartest move for the show.
For sure, for sure.
And this has been our episode of Loki. Tyler, where can we find you at?
If you want to listen to more about the MCU, you can find me on my podcast, Why Is, with Ty and Dan, where co-hosts Danny and I cover MCU news and reviews every week. You can find Why Is on various podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and even our YouTube channel at Why Is with Ty and Dan. We're also at Why Is with Ty and One on Twitter.
Wow. So, Zach, do you think there's a multiverse out there where there's a show called Why Is with Zach and Kevin?
Oh, for sure. There's also a show called Committed Critics with Ryan, Danny, and Tyler.
Oh. Would it still be called Committed Critics? Tyler, what's your thought?
It might be called Committed Critics, but we use K's instead of C's.
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
Oh no! Wait, there's 3 C's.
3 C's in the word, Tyler.
Oh no! No! That's in the worst timeline. If anything,
That's the same timeline where Hitler won World War II. So
yes, that's the worst timeline. No, I wasn't even thinking about that. Oh my goodness. Yeah. No. Maybe there's also there's like, instead of, because your logo is, you got a blue background, maybe it's blue lettering with a white background. I don't know.
I love it.
That's gonna be
inverse.
just,
Or maybe like
just,
Danny finds a way to close himself, and he has a show called Dynamic Danny's. So
there we go.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
There we go. It could go either way. But this has been Committed Critics. You can follow us on Twitter at Committed Crits. That's COMMITTED0ITS. You can follow us on YouTube at Committed Critics, spelled the same there. It is here and everywhere else. You can support us on Patreon, linked in the description. Just $1 or $2 a month helps the show. Special thanks to our current patrons, Davey Peppers from Game Mechanics, Ryan Kobolkowski from Ryan Plays Drums, Andy Phillips from Andy Phillips, and Jody Wright. Special thanks to our sound engineer, Jordan Smearman, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.